Let's jump right in. Today we're going to look at a brilliantly simple idea that connects two worlds you probably wouldn't put together: solar power and farming. It's a really cool story about finding value where you'd least expect it.
So I want to start with a number that might just blow your mind. 80%. Any guesses what this represents in the world of solar energy? Well, it's roughly the amount of energy from the sun that hits a solar panel and doesn't turn into electricity.
Yep, you heard that right. The vast majority of all that incredible solar energy just becomes heat. And it's not just a harmless byproduct. All that extra heat can actually make the solar panel itself work less efficiently. It's a fundamental problem that's kind of baked into the technology. So yeah, this inefficiency isn't some small technicality. It's a major challenge. And that brings us right to our first section, taking a closer look at solar power's hidden flaw.
I mean, just look at a typical solar panel you'd see anywhere. It's dealing with this exact problem. On a good day, these things convert maybe 15 to 22% of the sun's energy into electricity you can actually use. All the rest, that massive 80% chunk, is just warming up the neighborhood. Okay, so hold that thought. One system with way too much heat it doesn't want. Now let's pivot for a second. Because at the very same time, in a totally different corner of the world, there's a natural process that is often starving for the one thing it needs most: heat. And that process is composting. You see, to get that really rich, high-quality, safe compost, you have to hit what's called the thermophilic phase. It sounds complicated, but it just means the pile has to get and stay hot. We're talking above 55 Celsius or 131 Fahrenheit. And this is absolutely crucial. That high temperature is what kills all the bad stuff, like weed seeds and nasty pathogens, making the final product amazing for your garden.
So, we have one system that's too hot and another that's not hot enough. I think you can see where this is going. This brings us to Section 2, a truly ingenious solution.
And it all started with this one simple, powerful question. The kind of question that is at the heart of so much innovation, right? What if the waste from one system could actually be the fuel for another? This is that aha moment that kicked this whole thing off.
And they went for it. The idea is just so elegant. Let's capture that useless, performance-killing waste heat from the solar panels and actively pump it right into a compost pile to give it the thermal boost it's craving.
Of course, a great idea is one thing, but you've got to prove it actually works. So that takes us right to Section 3, where we get into the nuts and bolts of their experiment.
So, how did they build this thing? Step 1 is the power source. You've just got a standard solar array doing its day job, making electricity, but also creating that key byproduct we've been talking about, a constant, reliable source of waste heat. Next, you got to move that heat from point A to point B, and this part is just so clever. They used a simple vacuum to pull air through the whole system. And the best part? That vacuum is powered by the electricity from the very same solar panels. It's a totally self-contained loop. And finally, where's all that hot air going? To the target. A classic compost pile made of goat manure and dry leaves. This stuff is just sitting there, waiting for the two things it needs to turn into rich fertilizer: heat and oxygen. And here's how it all fits together. They put an aluminum sheet right under the panels, creating a sort of narrow heat trap tunnel. The vacuum pulls air into this channel where it gets nice and toasty from the panels above. Then that hot air is sent through pipes directly into the bottom of the compost pile. Simple, right?
Now, for any good experiment, you need a control group. So they set up two identical piles. Pile A was the experiment, getting that special solar heated air treatment. Pile B was the control, just a regular old compost pile left to do its thing with no help.
To figure out if it actually worked, they tracked a few key things. They measured the temperature, obviously to see if Pile A could hit that critical hot phase. They also checked pH levels, which tells you what the microbes are up to. And of course, they looked at the final quality of the compost itself. And the results? They were a huge success. The solar-assisted pile hit that crucial pathogen-killing temperature in only 4 days, while the standard pile took nearly 2 weeks. But the implications here are so much bigger than just one pile of compost. Which brings us to our final section, how this idea could help farm the future. What this experiment really shows us is a path toward a more circular kind of system. It takes a waste product, heat, and transforms it into a valuable resource. This makes the whole operation way more sustainable and efficient, without needing to pull extra energy from the grid. You know, this whole idea actually has a name: agrivoltaics. It's this growing field that's all about figuring out how we can use the same piece of land for two things at once: generating solar power and doing agriculture. It's about teamwork between technologies, not a competition for land.
And composting is just the perfect partner for this. Because, as the researchers themselves said, it's one of the best ways to achieve valorization, which is just a fancy word for turning waste into something valuable.
So when you step back and look at the big picture, this whole explainer leaves us with a really powerful thought. This system looked at waste heat and saw free fuel. It really makes you wonder, what other things do we call waste that are just a resource in disguise waiting for the right connection?